Here I am, just a man minding his own business. And then Palin Music Center comes along and says, "Hey, you should check this drum out." I said, "What is it?" "It's an A&F gunshot." I said, "Cool, tell me about it." "It's an 18-inch snare drum that can also be used as a kick drum." That's ridiculous. Holy cow, what do we have here? An A&F snare? Not just any snare, it's a giant snare drum. It is the A&F Gunshot. This thing is 18 inches around and 4 inches in depth. Such an obscure size for a snare drum, but is it useful? We're going to find out today with some listening and playing tests. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Gunshot today. So first off, we'll jump right into specs. This is an 18-inch, 4-inch depth snare drum. It is solid brass. The lugs are an A&F custom lug that is center mounted for that vintage look and feel. This particular drum I have today is solid brass. They also come in brass, aluminum, copper, and steel. So depending on the tonal preferences you have, they have some options with this gargantuan snare drum that also, we're going to get to this in a bit, doubles as a kick drum. Pretty wild. So I want to start off with a basic test today. We're going to throw the snare off. We're going to turn the snare on and play this sucker at some different dynamic levels. Let's check it out. What an absolute behemoth. This thing has a lot of bottom end to it, ton of resonance, and a warm snare decay. I had this first test at sort of a medium to medium low tuning. I felt like after trying multiple different tuning systems, this one felt the most comfortable, but it is incredibly flexible. So we're going to go over to another test now with a much higher tuning, just to give you a sense of how flexible this instrument is and what it's going to sound like when you crank her up. Check it out. Okay, we know what it sounds like in the middle. We know what it sounds like cranked up. But Austin, it's an 18-inch snare drum. What does it sound like cranked down? Well, I didn't try that. Just kidding, I did. Here it is. Oh, Gunshot, you make me so happy. This is a weird size for a snare drum, and when I pulled it out of the box, I wasn't so sure about the application, but after hearing its flexibility and how it sounds, at all these different levels of tension, I really can see the creativity flowing both for studio purposes and live. I think this would be a super fun drum to play, both sonically and just as a visual. It's just so cool. The one thing I did notice as I was playing this, being such a large drum, very, very resonant. Of course, the good news is that you can always tame that resonance if you need to. So I wanted to do a test with some different levels of muffling. So we started out with just the raw sound of the drum, moved over to a moon gel, then moved over to like a 1-inch E-ring for a floor tom, and then lastly a big fat snare drum donut with the open center there, so you can hear varying degrees from nothing all the way to a super muffled and short decay. So let's check it out. All right, so we can get a lot of variety using not only different tunings, but different levels of muffling. Now, let's get crazy. Let's turn a snare drum into a kick drum. So with the twisting of 2 screws on the stand, I was able to quickly convert the snare drum stand into a kick drum stand. Even though that snare drum, or now kick drum, is vertical, the hooks are sort of rubberized and stick to the drum very well on the stand, and you can there's one that you can sort of loosen, push down onto the drum for a snug fit, and then tighten it back. And I had no issues or even worries, as I felt that rubberized material that was holding onto the drum, that it was going to fall forward. The feet on the stand, they're about 1 or 2 inches in diameter, rubberized as well, so as you're pushing onto that kick drum, it wasn't scooting at all. I had it on sort of linoleum type material, and there was no moving whatsoever with that drum. The other thing I was concerned about too, before I set it up into kick drum mode, was removing the snare wire. Their design, it's, it could be something on other drums, but I've never seen it, and I have way too many snare drums. But it's really easy to just take off that snare wire and turn it into kick drum mode. So here's a low test just to give you a little taste of what this snare drum can do as a kick drum. Well, if you're looking to get to the gig with some lightweight gear, that is the kick drum of choice. Oh my goodness. It is so compact. That stand folds up into, backpack sized stand. You could just slip in a bag very easily. The snare drum, now kick drum, is only 4 inches in depth, but man, it has a lot of low end. And even compared to my 20-inch kick drum on my kit, it really is bottom heavy and resonant and fun to play. It would be cool to experiment with a little bit of muffling on that as well, just to see what it could do. But really impressed with the versatility of the snare drum. It's been really inspiring to play. I feel like I could see endless possibilities of application, for studio use, and specifically for me, using it as a double or a trigger to use on other snare drum sounds, just to give it more body and weight. If you want some like anthem level, drum hits, it would be awesome for that. Crank the reverb up on it. It's just, a ton of fun to play and look at. So the A&F GUNSHOT, I hope that you enjoyed this review video. And of course, if you have questions, leave them in the comments and I will be happy to answer them. A huge thank you to Palin Music for sending this drum over for me to check out. Had a lot of fun playing it, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.